I am the leader of a crime syndicate. Don't question why I'm announcing this publicly on YouTube, just trust me. That's right, this whole time I have been a mafia boss. But right now, I have a problem. I am a little short-staffed, and I find myself needing a new hitman. My previous hitman was defeated by a bunch of humanoid pairs. This time, I need someone with ingenuity, a bounty hunter with a real passion for the kill, someone who has unbelievable amounts of stealth. And to find this hitman, what better place to turn to than the classic video game Hitman World of Assassination? No, I'm just kidding, the 2008 life simulation game, Spore. By utilizing the scientific potential of Spore's creature creator, I should be able to sift through an infinite amount of options to eventually land on the perfect specimen. For example, how about this ostrich? No, too tall. His head would poke out when he was trying to hide behind things. In that case, what about this shrimp? No, this one is too small. Perhaps I could use this pickle? No, too pickled. It seems this would be harder than I first thought. But just as I was about to give up, I stumbled upon the perfect candidate. A duck! This was genius! What better creature to make a sneaky assassin out of than an animal that's name literally means to dodge out of the way of things? My ducks were going to duck and weave their way to the very top of the bounty hunting world, making me and my crime syndicate stacks of money, whilst also taking out all of our competition. Without further ado then, I found myself a planet, and my troop of ducks raced into action. Oh, no wait, one of them is a bit stuck. Come on, little duck, come on, you can do it, come on. There we go, okay. Right, where was I? Right men, welcome to Hitman Training School. By the end of this, I will have turned each one of you into a bloodthirsty psychopath, but right now you are pretty cute, to be fair, you are pretty cute. Step forward, candidate number 1. I shall christen you Dimitri, and you will be the most adorable mass murderer in the whole world. Having chosen my test subject, it was time to find Dimitri his very first target. Hitmen don't usually go around searching for people to kill, that's more sort of a serial killer thing, but Dimitri had to start somewhere, and before long, he came across a nest of snails. Go on then, Dimitri, take them out. But not really knowing anything about assassination, Dimitri walked right up to the snails in broad daylight and began to peck one with his beak. Unsurprisingly, this was not very effective. There was no element of surprise, no secrecy, and Dimitri was swiftly defeated. So, not the best of starts. In his first mission, my duck had been beaten up by a garden snail. I may have made a terrible mistake. Dimitri was obviously not very strong, so it was clear that if he was going to be even remotely successful as a hitman, he would need some way to sneak up on his opponents and take them out before they even realized he was there. In pursuit of this, I fitted him out with a very important accessory, a piece of grass. Although it might look stupid, in Spore, this blade of grass contains the ability of sneak. Don't ask me how it works, but fashioning the grass into a sort of tail, Dimitri could now just disappear on command. Perfect. Those snails quite literally wouldn't know what had hit them, and Dimitri headed back over to resume his mission. This time, he was able to sneak around the back undetected, and, waiting patiently for the opportune moment, all of a sudden, he struck. He sprung into the air, performing some sort of death from above type maneuver, and hitting the snail with a series of devastating blows. In mere moments, the target had been terminated, and Dimitri now had one confirmed kill. This was great progress, really great progress, Dimitri, and I was eager to test out his new abilities on other more challenging targets. First, Dimitri infiltrated a nest of a bunch of shrimps, then taking them out one by one, and afterwards treating himself to a little snack. Then Dimitri set about doing the same to a bunch of snakes, and by the time he returned home from his training, the rest of the ducks had been training as well, and a proper bounty hunting association had been formed. Dimitri took a blood pact and signed a bunch of contracts through the medium of dance. Of course, he didn't bother to read any of the terms and conditions, but he was sure it would be fine. And with that, he was given his very first official hitman job. Dimitri was to go and meet the client, an incredibly wealthy hedgehog from next door. According to the hedgehog, a bunch of bananas had moved into the neighborhood and were interfering with his business of harvesting body parts. Ooh, Jesus. Should we really be helping this guy, Dimitri? But the money was too good to turn down, and Dimitri soon arrived at the bananas' base. He wasted no time going into sneak mode, and he began to make his approach. But before he could get too close, oh god no! He'd been spotted! The bananas descended upon him in an instant, and it was only thanks to his training in speed and agility that he narrowly escaped with his life. It seems the bananas were more astute than any creature he'd come across before, and so, to even get close to them, he was going to have to upgrade his sneak ability. But how, you might be wondering, can you get any stealthier than a piece of grass? One word: leaf. Now that Dimitri was wearing a leaf on his head, he was practically unstoppable. His camouflage was so good that upon returning to the banana's base, they had no idea where he was. This allowed him and his bounty hunting associate to charge in, catch the bananas by surprise, and viciously peck them all to death one after another. "Looks like these bananas aren't so ripe anymore," said Dimitri. It sounded cooler in his head. He was working on his post-kill one-liners. With their mission a major success, they returned to the hedgehogs, who gave them a really good review on the Hitman review app, RipAdvisor. And, all of a sudden, business for the Duck Bounty Hunting Association was booming. So much so that Dimitri came straight out of one job and into the next. His clients this time were a group of poachers. Dimitri wasn't too sure whether he should be working with poachers, as he was a duck, an animal which gets poached all the time. Unfortunately, if he refused, they threatened to feed him to a giant poacher, so he didn't really have much choice. Thankfully, their target this time was a group of micro pigs. This should be easy then, I mean, pigs are well known for being stupid. In his overconfidence though, Dimitri got too close and he was immediately spotted. He went to make a retreat, but as if things couldn't get any worse, the giant poacher was right behind him. He was then picked up by the huge creature, tossed through the air, and then chased all the way back to Bounty Hunting HQ. Goodness me, that was terrifying. This was a mission he could not afford to fail. Because of this, Dimitri decided to upgrade his sneak ability again, by getting himself a twig. Now he wasn't just disguising himself as a leaf, but as a whole tree branch. It was genius. Anyone who saw him would just think he was a stick. And this proved to be true, as, when he returned to the micro pig's nest, they paid no attention to him, and he was able to tiptoe around undetected. Then, when the timing was right, he and the other ducks charged in as they always did, and took out their targets with swift efficiency. With the micro pigs defeated, the poachers were overjoyed, and they were so impressed with Dimitri's excellent work that they upgraded his sneak ability even further by removing his twig and adorning him with a beautiful flowery hat. This would have been payment enough, but the poachers were keen to buy Dimitri's services again. It seemed they had a lot of enemies that they needed to get rid of. This time Dimitri's job was more specific. He was to search for an intergalactic traveller by the name of Fruitius Maximus. Apparently, Fruitius was a pear, a race of sentient fruit known for being incredibly tough. With this in mind, the poachers gifted Dimitri his very own sniper rifle. That's right, he had a gun now. I don't think I can stress this enough. He was now a duck with a gun. Dimitri thought it wise to test out his new weapon before embarking on this dangerous mission. So he found himself a nice vantage point overlooking a nest of mushrooms. And with that, he began to let loose. Oh my god, this thing was ridiculous. It was just one shot, one kill. Dimitri was a little overpowered now, to say the least, and he was such a well-trained assassin at this point that he was hitting every shot with 100% accuracy. Not to mention the fact he didn't even have arms. After enough target practice, Dimitri decided it was time for the real deal. He darted his way through the trees until he spotted Fruitius Maximus's encampment up ahead. Using the full extent of the new flower on top of his head, Dimitri did what he always did and disappeared into thin air. He snuck his way through until he was so close he could smell the fruity scent of pears all around him. He loaded his gun and prepared to shoot. Arguably, Dimitri didn't need to get this close because he was using a sniper rifle. But in the end, it didn't really matter anyway, because as he stared deep into Fruitius Maximus's beautiful pear eyes, he was suddenly struck by a deep sense of humanity. What was Dimitri doing? Was he really a stone-cold killer? These pears had done nothing to him, so why was he going along with all of this? He was a founding member of the Duck Bounty Hunters Association, sure, but as he stood there and thought about the things he had done up until now, the things he had done with these blood-stained wings of his, he felt a great sense of shame. That was it. He would not do it. He would be a slave to the organization no more. He would just leave Fruitius Maximus alone, run away, and go live a more fulfilling life. I mean, what were they gonna do? It's not like they would just hunt him down or anything. But the organization doesn't forget, and they certainly don't tolerate traitors. What was that sound? It was getting louder. Oh goodness, Dimitri, look behind you. Run, Dimitri, run! All of a sudden, he was swamped in waves and waves of duck mercenaries. They flung themselves up and over him, encircling him in a huge crowd and... No, Dimitri! Oh God, this is horrible! My child! My poor, sweet, sweet boy!